Okay. Fuck you. Go away. There we are. Yeah, 3 years. That's a long time. Okay, so smartphone these days. Yeah, I mean, like, the problem is I don't like interacting with people that much. So being kind of forced into doing it is I know that sounds weird because I'm streaming, and so technically I'm interacting, but it's not an even relationship here. Or I guess I could say that. Okay, never mind. It's kind of a weird thing to say, but I don't know, it's just different. It's just different. It's not the same thing, because here I choose when I stream. When I don't want to stream, I don't want to stream. And with a phone, you don't choose when someone calls you or sends you a message or something. And I never want to be called or have to respond to messages. So yeah, that's just very different. Okay, so bullshit aside, we have Poltava, Blizzy, plus Kabiya. And oh boy. So this is going to be an interesting game because we've got Wehrmacht plus OKW, and the Wehrmacht player is spamming out some Assault Grenadiers on Poltava. So they're actually pushing in with the Assault combo of the Sturmpile plus the Assault Grenadier, and they're trying to move in on essentially like the cutoff point, and that's actually working out quite fine. Here comes the Universal Carrier from the Brits trying to, you know, get to its objectives and do something, but it's not really working out because here comes the Sturm Assault thing, Sprint, and that puts them in a pretty bad spot. The Sturm Pioneers are sent home, actually, while we have the conscripts just trying to do their best to repel these Volksgrenadiers, and the Assault Grenadiers will also be sent home by the Universal Carrier. So this push from the Germans, which was actually, you know, in some ways pretty good and pretty threatening, is going to be sent back relatively quickly, and that's not very good. I also used too many adverbs in that sentence, and so it was just extremely overloaded. But yeah, right now we have the Allies trying to secure essentially their points close to the base. So this gives them an advantage, obviously, because their units that are running away from here are running to the base, and then they can be easily reinforced, whereas the Germans will be running all the way to their own base, and that's not gonna end in their favor, because of course fighting further away from your home base, especially in the early to mid game, is quite difficult. And then at this point, since they're retreating longer and they're also taking longer to, you know, heal up and reinforce and come back on the field, this is going to mean that not only they lose the early engagement, but also the benefits for the Allies are going to be bigger, because they can cap more points and hold on to them while the enemy troops are still busy getting themselves patched up. And you can see that right now as the Allies are moving in on both fuels. They're also putting up pressure on the German munitions over here. And the center VP is only now being recapped by the Germans, which should have been done a lot earlier, because we've got this machine gun over here, so it's not like the Allies can really do too much over here. Also, oh no, 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 no! Hans is being murdered. I think the Universal Carrier should probably just chase. Come on. Yes, chase. Yes. No, that's incredibly unlucky. Okay, no, he gets the kill, but is that gonna be worth losing the Universal Carrier? I do not know. The Assault Grenadiers are 280, whereas the UC is 260. It used to cost fuel too. Okay, so I guess it's worth it. 20 manpower increase. 20 manpower trade. In the meantime, however, Kabiya has been able to get himself whipped up into shape and taking over the entire right side. Nice. So he's taking over the entire right side, and PMC Down is not really able to respond effectively, which is relatively sad. He has spammed out some conscripts, and unfortunately that puts him at a pretty big disadvantage when it comes to long range and medium range fights. So yeah, not really working out for him. When it comes to close range, obviously there's the Sturmpyos. However, now he's back. I mean, he's gonna recap some of his points, and he's got a Flamer Engineer, so he can do some good stuff. But looks like he's gonna lose it. Rip. His friend over here, Kabachuk USSR, he's got a lot of infantry sections, so pretty good firepower, and he has stolen an MG42 from Blizzy. That's great, because Blizzy with the Assault Grenadiers is going to be particularly vulnerable to machine guns. And to counter that, he's going from mortar, but this also means that his battle phase 1 is being delayed because he doesn't have enough manpower to build it, and because his engineers are moving back on the field onto the VP to try to get himself a VP cap. So this means that the teching game will be slightly slower for the Germans in the early to mid game, and obviously that's important because that's the way you get the 222 and the Panzer Grenadiers that are gonna essentially be what the Germans need to counter those MGs, along with the mortars. And also to counter, you know, any other early to mid-game British units. And obviously the Flame Half-Track too. I mean, Tier 2 is just very important for the Germans, also because it unlocks the AT guns, which later become very, very important as well. So, you know, that's that. Nice dodge on the grenade assault from the British infantry. I'm not sure if it will last 30 minutes. And yeah, Lorenzo, I think, is the oldest sub here, by far. Maybe not by far, but definitely the older. He is the elder. Because he's like, he subbed when I was doing my like first cast, basically in the 20s. It was still in the 20s, and then he subbed. So yeah, he's old in this regard. Damn, it was like 2 years ago. Ew. Papashas? Is that a good idea? I'm not sure. So obviously he went with the Guards Rifle Combined Arms tactics, which is a mouthful and a half. That's 5 words. And yeah, Guards Riflemen plus the Papashas. Obviously that's what he wants to go with as a combination. The Guards provide the anti-vehicle and the long range, and in general the defensive power, whereas the conscripts are going to be there to essentially die for the Guards and to provide the close range damage and protection. And also anti-tank grenades. Needs anti-tank grenades now because of the Lukes. Needs PTRSs now because of the Lukes. So overall, the Lukes potentially is going to be countered by a lot of things, but also potentially the Allies might just fuck up and just let it run rampant because there aren't really any AT guns on the field. So long range counters, well actually no, there is one from Kabachuk. Anyway, because of this, the overall cover of the Lukes is, you know, pretty good. Like he's covered against a lot of threats because he can just stay at long range and he's going to be fine against the Guards, although, I mean, showing the rear armor, obviously pretty bad. And also, wow! He definitely stood there way too long against the blob. Left side, running away. So, Allies doing quite well, and... Is that? Wow. Wait, what? How does he have the airburst? How the hell does he have the airburst? So only got tier 1. That was most definitely an airburst shell. Might be a bug. Okay, so the Luke's obviously doing quite well, and S-Minefield on the right side VP. Good play by Blizzy, just to avoid that being capped in a cheeky, breaky way. Oh, is that mortar gonna die? Yep, well done. Can he steal it? Most likely not. That's unfortunate. He's still gonna try though. That's ballsy to say the least, but it's not gonna succeed. Left side is being protected by a Bofors by Kabachuk. That is a good choice. It helps against the light vehicles like Luke's, and you know, doesn't need to be faced. Covers a pretty good area. yeah, it's going to be difficult for the Germans to deal with because also the OKW player is on the right side of the map, and because he went mechanized rather than battle group, so that means that there's no more, there's not going to be any support guns, which are obviously a big annoyance. You don't want those being around. Molotovs being thrown by conscripts, but why did he go for Molotovs instead of AT grenades? Oh no, he did get AT grenades, but he doesn't have munitions. Okay, never mind. I misread the icon. And that's pretty bad, actually, because, you know, gives more time for the Lukes to really shine and ravage through the Allied lines. Concentration barrage coming in. Potentially quite dangerous. Does some damage, but is he gonna die? Wipe! Come on! Aw, sad. So he's gonna survive the AT gun. Just barely survives the AT gun. Yeah, there was 2 AT guns, so obviously the Lukes kind of walked into a bad neighborhood. But he survives. The Germans briefly took the middle VP during that, but the Allies can recapture that instantly, so yeah, no big problem, man. No big problem. And there's a bit of an artillery, a beginning of an artillery pounding coming in from the Brit. But, you know, despite the fact that he's gone with the artillery doctrine, we're not going to see any Sextons anytime soon. Maybe a Valentine? That would be quite useful, I feel like, for the map hacks and for the light tank. That is going to be quite good against the Lukes, because the Valentine is pretty fast, and it beats the Lukes 1v1, so it can be a good counter to that. Well, maybe not the best counter, but definitely good enough. And nice flank from the guards. Are they going to throw a grenade? No munitions. Combat Engineer Squad needs to come in and get some flames on those heavy cover models to get the extra damage, but they're not doing that. They run away. Cowardly. You have failed the Rodina. I just find it kind of funny how Relic couldn't be arsed to get even one Russian person to tell them how to pronounce Russian things for Company of Heroes 2. Although actually like for example, the conscripts do a pretty good job. Like they kind of sound like the Russian. Just like the German troops kind of sound like the Germans. No half-track incoming, actually. Oh, concentration barrage now uses air burst. Thank you, Felix. I have no idea. I had no clue. And it doesn't even say in the tooltip, so... yeah. Good, I guess. Even though it's not the best. Infantry section barely survives that burning, collapsing building. Thankfully for the Brits, he was able to get that unit out of there. Oh, these German troops are so low. They're almost going to be wiped out, but I don't think they're going to be fully wiped out. This is... map makers, why do you not make roads red cover, ever? I don't understand. Yeah, it's just... this one is red cover, but this one isn't. And also, this one is red cover here. Oh no, it's red cover everywhere. Okay. But it's not red cover here. Oh, because that's... oh, that's a quote-unquote crater of a grenade.
Light artillery barrage ready to launch.
More concentration barrages being fired. They're not being all that effective because they're being fired at moving targets. And the concentration barrage in general, the British base artillery, is not the most effective at dealing with infantry and in general moving targets. It's just a whole lot better to deploy it against buildings and team weapons that are relatively stationary. Light artillery barrage tries to catch the AT gun that was running away, but once again, moving target. So pretty difficult if you're not going to be aiming well. We've got the Vet 2 Lukes coming back to the right side, but honestly, I think that the Lukes should be trying to approach different angles of attack. Otherwise, if it keeps doing the same things over and over again, it's just going to make itself predictable and easily countered. The Allies, by countering the Lukes, are sort of making Kabia into a, well, into kind of a crippled player, to be honest, because the Lukes is what he's relying on right now. He might be waiting for the Sturm Tiger, as he is right now ranking up his elite armor here. So he's free CPs from the Sturmtiger, which would be an excellent tool. And he hasn't upgraded the Schwer Panzer quarters, so maybe that's what he's going for. If he was going indeed for the Sturmtiger, I would probably advise for him to get himself some extra Raketenwerfers right now. And he does have the map packs. And maybe in his calculations he should think about whether or not to get a Stuka, because that would also be very, very useful for much the same thing, although in a different enough way that it's not really redundant to get both. Because the Stuka obviously has the long range and can deal with stationary enemy targets, whereas the Sturmtiger has a medium range and can deal with enemy targets, but it's much more, you could say, bursty, okay? So like, the Sturmtiger goes in there, doesn't give any warning to the enemy, and just obliterates everything instantly, whereas the Stuka, it's more like area denial, you know, it fires, the enemy knows what's happening, maybe they run away, maybe they don't. Rip Centaur. And that's exactly why you get Raketenwerfers, because they're fucking good. Packs, yes, we do have some packs. That is good also, because Blizzy is going to need those packs. Blizzy hasn't built any bigger tiers. Does he have? No, he doesn't even have tier, or rather battle phase 2 researched. Luke's is dead. So that means that he's really waiting hard for the Tiger. Perhaps would want to get himself a Stug 3E, because his opponents are using quite a bit of infantry and team weapons right now. No vehicles out yet, except for that Centaur, which was instantly murderified. So the Allies, despite the promising beginning of the mid-game, are now starting to run into kind of a brick wall of German defenses set up around the center VP and the right side VP. Because of this, I would say that the Allies need to kind of switch into some artillery. And unfortunately, Poltava doesn't really allow for medium tanks to be as effective as they could be. So yeah, that's going to be difficult for the Allies to make work. But they do at least steal one of the MG42s, and that's actually a crucial link in the German defensive network, because now only one MG42 is left, although this one might get wiped again. No, it doesn't. There's only one MG42 left, plus maybe some MG34s. Yeah, 2 MG34s. But the MG42 is just, you know, pretty important for the center defense. And that kill and steal will definitely augment the Allied capabilities to push into that center area and then afterwards hold it. Sexton on the field, or as everyone calls it, the Priest, because, you know, they're used to Company of Heroes 1. I'm used to Company of Heroes 1, and I'm probably going to call it the Priest sometime during this. It's trying to fire at the MGs, and it's being pretty much as useless as it is usually. So yeah, press F for the Sexton. It's getting buffed, which is good, because it's shit. So it looks like the game is going to be like 45 minutes, something like that. Actually, okay, works like this. Lately, Guards grenades have been disappointing me. Okay. And, hi, Sherman. Hey, Woodstock, the Sturmtiger still good or is bad? It's good. It's gonna get buffed. Oh, wow. Good. I like using the Sturmtiger. Because it's just good. Like, it deletes units. Anything that deletes units is good in Company of Heroes 2. Because wiping is just so good. Like, it may sound really, you know, simple and basic, but it's just the way it is. And is that going to be a double wipe? Oh, so lucky. So anyway, a lot of units have been hitting the field right now. So some big power spikes are on. So we've got the Sexton, we've got the Katyusha, we've got the Thing here, Stuggy, and we've got Stuka, but also, again, double map hacks. You don't see this every game, you know? Double map hacks. That's kind of cool. So he really wants to see a lot. And honestly, on a map like Poltava, this makes a lot of sense because look at this map. It's small. Like, if a map hacks sees like something like this, maybe. I really wish I could draw. Yeah, it sees this, okay? So the map hack sees this. 2 map hacks means that you see everything. That's useful. Especially since it's only, again, like 6 pop cap. So that means that 2 of them equals the pop cap of 1 Katyusha. So not that much. And they're 270. Oh no, that's even the flak half track. This is the map hack, so 5. So they equal a T-34 in pop cap and 400 manpower, 10 fuel. And you see the entire map. I take that trade, you know? Not as good as, whatchamacallit, Spy Network, but still pretty good. Lots of artillery coming in on every front, and Makarov is sending me links that I cannot open because I'm in the middle of the fucking thing. Oh, I guess I'll just show it after the game is done. That's what he wants me to do. Oh! Okay, flame tank is popped, but he dies in the end anyway, even though he does not die of the flame tank being popped. Stuka's just barraging into the mosh pit that is the center right now. Just everything is being exploded that is sent in there. The round table is being massacred. And it seems like the Germans will prevail thanks to the vicinity of their battle headquarters. They can send their units back, reinforce, repair the vehicles, and then come back around. Whereas the Allies need to go all the way back to the base, and by the time they're back, everything is dead or taken. So actually this MG42 should probably be retaken as a priority. Guards trying to save the mortar pit. Mortar pit is likely to just be saved, honestly, because it can just brace. MG42 is reclaimed, but it's facing the wrong way, so it needs to run away. Run away! No! Why are you doing this? You're gonna be killed before you can fire. And yeah, he tries to run away, but is it gonna be quick enough? Guard grenade, not fast enough. So yeah, the Germans take that MG42 back. The Stuka 3E is doing well for itself, as I expected. And oh, that was so close. Could have wiped him out, but no, lucky. And I don't know.
Now you have 2 donations.
Thank you.
Now you have 2 donations.
It failed really, really epically, but thank you, Freezing Dude. See, it failed really epically because the text-to-speech that I put overwrote, which shouldn't have happened, overwrote the, whatchamacallit, the notification sound. And also, it did not play my fucking GIF, which is retarded as fuck. The GIF, by the way, is awesome. You did not see it, but you may have seen this if you're like a quote-unquote veteran of watching the stream. It's like a bear smashing through some mall. I do not know why I found that, but I just thought it was pretty funny. Flame grenade. Just not the best at dealing with a moving blob. But hey, he did some damage. Still though, I just don't see the Allies, you know, continuing to do this move into the center, a move into the center with their units as a good idea. Like, I don't think it's gonna work out in the late game and, you know, in the long term as a whole. Not just because of the late game. Okay, MG42 is destroyed. The Katyusha barrage is obviously very, very good, and he's building a KV-1, so looks like he's trying to at least make something that can be kind of a spearhead unit. Also, Schwerpanzer quarters is here. One of those conscripts is dead, and the second conscript is also not looking too healthy. He is dead. So 2 conscripts dead for really not much, because the MG42 was immediately recruited. Actually, no, but it's gonna be recruited soon because the Pioneers again can just reinforce off of this battle headquarters, which is why this combination is crucial, because the Sexton is gonna be useful against the building itself because it's gonna do damage, whereas the Katyusha is gonna be useful against the units that are gonna huddle around and maybe try to repair it, maybe try to reinforce off of it. but they need to start whittling down this combination quickly. Otherwise, the battle headquarters is just gonna be their undoing. Another thing that they should do, by they I mean the allies should do, is think about a flank from the left, because honestly this area is pretty empty of enemy troops. If they can get an AT gun over here, they can destroy the Schwer. If they can get their vehicles around here, they can destroy this and then get into the rear. Anyway, yeah, back to the game.
Our territory is falling into enemy hands.
That was one hell of a miss. Oh no, he missed again! Is he attack rounding? I think he's using attack. He must be using attack round. No! Okay, this time he gibs one of the pioneers. Oh my god. There's rockets being fired. The infrareds are trying to spot everything out. The little Stuggy is trying to destroy some combat engineers. Centaur and KV-1 trying to push again on the same right to middle side. So overall, the German fortress on the hill kind of stands. Here come some more rockets from the German side being fired at the Allied positions. They barely missed the big blob that was moving out of the base, just kind of scraping it and hitting the anti-tank gun as well. That's very lucky for the Allies. German blob is also moving in there. Centaur AA pushes the German blob back. I mean, at this point, again, it's just blob fights. Blob fight upon blob fight. But the Germans, they've got the blob, you know, the blob replenisher over here. And the Allies do not. The Allies, consequently, are pushed back further to the base. It's not really anything too strange to think about. And the Katyusha being there, almost destroying the battle headquarters, along with the Sexton, is going to be what breaks this cycle. A cycle of vengeance and violence. Okay, so finally the Soviets are actually able to get some units capping this point on the right. We've got 394 to 245 when it comes to the VPs, so that is definitely to the favor of the Germans, but not too terribly so. Not as much as you might think. And the Centaur destroys a pack, that is big. If he destroys the MG42, it's also big. And the KV is, yeah, it's in the rear lines with no AT ready to stop him. Although there is a Tiger and a Sturm Tiger. So two of the Tigers are gonna be, you know, prowling the battlefield from now on, and honestly, the Allies do not have any counters to them yet. Seems like PNC Down is trying to build another KV. Once he sees this, he's probably gonna cancel that and switch it up to an Su-85. That's what I would do, because it would just be so much more useful against the Tiger than the KV-1, and the KV-1 is showing why it's not that great against the Tiger, as the Tiger is just plowing it. Battle group headquarters is being repaired right now by the Sturmpioniere. Stolen for doing its, you know, damn hardest to try to defeat this Tiger, but the Tiger, you know, sees that and is like, nope, I'm getting back. So now this kind of shows the cards of the Germans, though, because before the Allies had no idea, I guess, what the Germans were going for. Although I guess Assault Grenadiers does say kind of Tiger. And that's exactly why I like this tank. I mean, can you beat this? Can you beat this? 2 wipes. 2 wipes and 11 kills on expensive infantry sections. Can you beat this? Yeah, you can. But if you're good at aiming, it's great. And for its price, I mean, it's not that expensive, considering it's a wipe machine. And again, wipes are just so good in Company of Heroes. Just so bloody good. Yeah, Kvass, it's pretty damn difficult to flank on this map, so I'm not sure what these guys are gonna cook up with. But again, there are chances for the Allies to get some flanks done. The Germans are still gonna be the kings of the center fight. Perhaps even if the battle group headquarters is destroyed, which it's looking more and more likely as the game is moving on that the battle group headquarters is gonna be destroyed. Ooh. There he goes. Let's get some fast forward action. Big Stuka barrage. Unfortunately, a little bit too early because now the Katyusha fires back at the battle group headquarters. Doesn't really get that many kills, but almost destroys it. Where's the Sexton? Fire! It's almost reloaded. I think this might be the end of the battle group. The Germans are just pushing all the way to the Allied base, though, which might not be the best thing ever for them. And now he's retreating back to base. Oh, wow. One of the Vet 5 is destroyed, and the other one is heavily damaged. Tiger moves up, but obviously there's just too much Allied armor for him to deal with. Here comes the Sturm. What's the Sturm gonna fire at? Is it gonna try to nail these KVs? He might try, because honestly, these guys are slow. Misses completely. Well, not completely. Gets 2 kills on something. But that was definitely a little bit of a missed opportunity. What you want to do with the Sturm is that you want to keep an eye out for when he's aiming at something. You want to see if that something is just kind of moving out of the way. Because you can cancel the shot, okay, by just moving the Sturm Tiger. That cancels him aiming and firing. So you keep the shell and you can use it on something else. Like, for example, in this fight, he could have seen that the KVs were running away from where he was aiming, canceled, and aimed at the blob instead. And even that is a very powerful tool. Just aiming at a blob and scaring it very much, and then canceling, not firing, and then aiming again. Because that really puts the scare on the blobs. Although, I guess he's reloading really quickly, so yeah, he's got it back up already. As long as you remember to press that reload button, it's not that long. It's like 50 seconds or something. Okay, so Kabia has lost a lot of infantry lately, but he's got 700 manpower. He really needs to use that 700 manpower to reinforce his depleted stuff. He has lost his battle group headquarters. Needs to not rebuild it in the same spot. Really needs to not rebuild it in the same spot. Oh no. Because what this is going to do is it's just going to invite the Allies into destroying him. You know? Into destroying him again. Don't do the same thing twice if it doesn't, you know, pay off the first time. Although it did pay off the first time. Just once the enemy figures out how to deal with it, don't do it again. Hello, I am a Sherman Firefly. That's a good purchase for the Brits. Because that is going to be very, very good at dealing with the Tiger. Sturm Tiger got 4 kills, but he screwed up. Decided to reload on the spot, and that's what happens when you try to reload in full view of the enemies as a Sturm Tiger. And actually, since he received no criticals, he can just run away. The Stuggy is just desperately trying to get some damage done, and he didn't use target weak point, which is very sad. And now the Allies have a Sturm Tiger. I love this. This is very, very important. It's a big turning point, actually. Because already the Allies were starting to shape themselves up into a better position by destroying, you know, the battle headquarters, by using their artillery better, by dealing damage to enemy infantry, and by consequence starting to have more infantry supremacy. And, of course, also by stealing enemy team weapons. also by getting the Firefly. So that's a lot of factors that are going in the favor of the Allies already. But this is a big thing, the fact that now they have the Sturmtiger, because now they have the tool to deal with team weapon and blob kind of formations. And the Germans are lacking said tool to deal with their own blobs and team weapons. So yeah, this kind of shifts around the dynamic of the game, because it's going to make it a whole lot easier for the Allies to concentrate force and really make big pushes. Nice tulip rockets, almost destroyed the Tiger, but that was just barely not enough. Il-2 Sturmovik attacks are called in. Actually, this could be dangerous because, yeah, they see all of this. So since they see all of this, they get some good damage dealt on the enemy troops that are trying to obviously reinforce and replenish. KV is getting a good flank from the right side. They're going to try to get behind and actually, I think, destroy the Stukas. Stuka, which gets an amazing barrage, 40 kills, and destroys a lot of stuff. Vet free, but it is dead, so it does not matter anymore. Well, it does relatively matter. The KVs are also destroying this MG34, and they're also going to destroy this anti-tank gun. So this opens up a big avenue for a push for the Allies. There's only one machine gun there. I think their Sturmtiger is going to be reloaded by now. So the Sturmtiger is reloaded. Katyusha barrage being fired at the German stuff over here, the German team weapons. One of the KVs died, but that was absolutely worth it to get the kill on that enemy artillery piece. And the disruption on the enemy line. Also, it prevented the Tiger from being repaired fast enough to repel the next Allied push. Here comes the Sturmtiger. The Sturmtiger, I think, wants to... Wait, what? Why are you firing at a mortar? I mean, I guess you did that, but you could have probably destroyed the Stugi in one shell. I mixed up shell and hit, which both would have worked, but then I said shit. Thanks, brain. Or he could have dealt a lot of damage to the battle quarters. One of these. So that was kind of a failed first Sturmtiger shell. Still though, the Centaur now, thanks to the general lack of German infantry over here, and thanks to the fact that the Tiger is still being repaired, has free reign to do some damage. The anti-tank gun is dead, so that opens up the rest of the Allied armor to move in and deal with the Tiger. So the Tiger has to run away. The vet-free Stugi is going to die. That's not good, because that was a very, very important piece of the puzzle for the German defenses, and so I'm guessing that this is going to be the end of the game. Vehicle being bunned by the Guards riflemen, so the Tiger is very, very scared, tries to run away. One of the infantry sections is actually dead, but the Germans are retreating back to the battle quarters, and they're being just absolutely mowed down by the 20 millimeters of the Centaur and the cannons of all the different heavy tanks and medium tanks over here. So yeah, that's the end. Grenades being thrown, guns being fired. The second coming of the battle quarters will be not a lot more effective than the first one. In fact, it will be a lot less effective. It dies, and so with it, I think the hopes of the German domination over the center, and with those, the hopes of the German victory. So yeah, the Germans' big mistakes, well, you could say most of them were from Kobia, because he wasted his Sturmtiger in a way that wasn't really that great. I mean, he gets a KT now, but might be a little bit too late. He did not get any Jagdpanzers. Yes, I know. I usually bash on Jagdpanzers, but I think a Jagdpanzer would have been very helpful for him. And yeah, he did not counter the Allied artillery enough. Blizzy also didn't really put up any effort to try to counter the Allied artillery, although that's because he had less tools to do that. And yeah, I don't see what else the Germans could have done. I mean, perhaps they could have put a little bit more weight onto harassing the left-hand side. Yes, they definitely could have done that. They allowed the allies to just kind of concentrate on the right side and the center, which worked out well for them in the first half of the game, but in the second half of the game, when the allied artillery started to become like very overpowering, they just couldn't keep up with it. And so at that point, they should have tried to mix it up, as they're doing right now. But right now, it's a little bit too late because there's an allied triple cap. And so, yeah, with 120 points left, you know, a couple of minutes left to the Germans, really not enough. You know, and since they lost most of their infantry in the early to mid game, sorry, in the mid to late game, they now do not have enough tools to really cap these VPs in any way. The KVs really surprised me, by the way. I just thought that the second KV might have been a really bad idea, but it worked out, and now we have a third KV. Sturm Tiger up to 19 kills. Looks like something just died. I did not know this. Okay, so apparently when you go out of control, you can go outside the map. That's so great. I just thought that they exploded on, you know, on the border. So yeah, the King Tiger almost got destroyed by the Firefly, but the Firefly did not survive that engagement. A nice flank attempt from these guys, but it's not enough because here comes the KV. Nobody's capping this point, even though they could. And the left, no one capped that. So yeah, that's the end. So yeah, that was pretty great. Pretty great game. I want to thank you all for watching. And that's the end of the cast for today. So, I've actually got a little bit more time, so I'll play something. Now, I think I'll play some Ko-1. But first, I need to check up with one person on whether or not that's a good idea. And I'll read the chat, I promise, in like 2 seconds once this bloody screen goes away. There we are. Delete. Excellent.